Hello children and welcome to the session today. Children, we have understood the concept of physical and chemical changes around us. A part of these changes is also seen in our environment on day-to-day basis. For example, you go out of the house, the weather is very sunny. By afternoon, it gets very cloudy and there is a downpour, very heavy rainfall. Yes, so this is what is the topic of the day. We are going to understand today in chapter number 8, weather, climate and adaptation. We are going to understand the concept of weather, climate, the effect of sun on climate and how climate affects adaptation in different animals. Children, animals and plants are the ones that need adaptation. Human beings have made ACs and heaters for themselves to survive anywhere on the planet. So let us first understand each of these terms one by one. So what is weather? Weather is the day-to-day change that takes place in rainfall, humidity and sunrise. Therefore, the temperature of the place. So how hot the sun is, how cool the sun is, how early the sun is rising, how early or late the sun is setting. All these things decide the weather for the day. Now, let's understand each of these in detail. So, what are the elements of weather? The first element is temperature. We know that temperature is measured using a thermometer and we get an average daily temperature maximum, average daily temperature minimum. The next is wind. So, what is wind? Fast moving air is known as wind. How does wind decide what is going to be the weather of the day? If it is windy and even then if it is very, very hot, very sunny, even then the temperature drops because the wind dissipates the heat of the sun. On the other hand, on a non-windy day, even a soft sun can feel very harsh because there is no wind to dissipate the heat coming from the sun. Then children, humidity and rainfall. What is humidity? Humidity is the content of moisture present in the atmosphere and it is measured by a hygrometer. Whenever the humidity is like 95% or above, there are chances of rainfall and we all know that rainfall cools down the temperature. So children, how is the weather forecasted? We know that a meteorologist is the one who predicts the weather. What are the conditions based on which the weather is predicted? Let us understand from this diagram. The climate of a place is the average weather condition. The first factor that determines the climate of a particular place is distance of the place from the equator. If you look at the picture carefully, you will understand that the place which is nearer to the equator is hotter in comparison to places which are closer to the poles. This is because of the varying angle at which the sunlight falls on the earth. If we take a simple example, Chennai is closer to the equator and therefore it has hot and humid climate throughout the year. Whereas Shimla, which is away from the equator, has relatively colder climate. Similarly, the other factors that affect the climate of an area are the height of a place from the sea level. If a place is going to be higher up from sea level, like Shimla again, it is going to be less hot. And Chennai, which is at the sea level, it is a coastal city, it is going to be very hot and humid. Distance from the sea. The farther a city or a state moves away from the sea, the less humid it is going to be. Then distance from the mountain. Again, the same example, Shimla, which is a hill station, will be cooler than Chennai, which is far, far away from mountains. The winds blowing in the area, this we've already discussed before how wind affects temperature of an area. Moisture content of the place. Obviously, if a place is going to be very humid all the time, if the humidity is going to be 80%, 85%, It is neither going to rain nor is it going to feel comfortable. Effect of sun on climate. We've already understood that the rays of the sun fall differently on different places on the earth. That is the reason the temperature is different in these different regions. The next is climate and adaptation. So children, as we discussed in the beginning of the chapter, human beings need not worry about the different climatic changes. So if it is getting hotter, if there is global warming, we are installing more and more ACs in our house. But what about the animals? How do the animals survive extreme cold, or how do they survive in extreme heat, or how do they survive in the forest? So each of these animals living in these separate areas have got certain features that help them survive there. What are these features called? These are known as adaptation. The adaptation of animals in colder climate is very interesting. Let's see a video to understand the same. Different plants and animals are found in places with different climates. Animals have special features and habits that enable them to survive in their habitat or surroundings. This ability is called adaptation. It is extremely cold in the snow-covered polar regions. Animals like polar bears and penguins are adapted to live in the ice-cold environment. Polar bears have 2 thick layers of fur to protect themselves from the extreme cold. They also have a layer of fat under their skin. It keeps them warm and also provides nutrition when food becomes scarce in the severe cold condition. They have white colored fur, and this helps them in not being visible in the snowy white background, thus protecting them from their predators. Penguins also live in cold climates. Now, penguins also have thick skin which is covered with feathers to keep them warm. The light color of their feathers helps them to blend with the surroundings. They have a streamlined body, webbed feet, and flipper-like wings that enable them to swim. And their food, their daily diet is fish from the water. Seal is another animal that lives in colder region. It also has got webbed feet, streamlined body, no external ears, and a layer of blubber under its skin which helps it to keep warm. Polar bears we have already understood. Then children, there are birds like Siberian cranes and Arctic terns. These are migratory birds. When it gets very cold in the polar regions, what do? They take long flights to warmer regions. Many of them used to come to India also, where the forest cover was very huge. Now with the forest cover reducing, the birds are coming in lesser number. The government is really putting in a lot of effort to maintain sanctuaries and wildlife areas like Bharatpur Bird Sanctuary, so that these birds can come to India more frequently. Now let us discuss about hot climate, that is the desert. Now all these animals that are present in the desert, as we can see, the spider, scorpion, lizard and snake, what do? They are all nocturnal animals. They come out only at night when the heat is very less. They survive at minimum level of water requirement. Why? Because there is no water in the surrounding. Coming next to the ship of the desert, we have been learning about the camel from junior classes. As we can see in this picture, what do you think are the different characteristics of a camel that help it to adapt the hot desert climate? Number 1, it has got long eyelashes which do not allow the dust to enter. Number 2, it has got thick padded feet. These help it to walk on the hot sand. Then it has got a huge hump at its back. What does this hump do? This hump here secures the food and water so that it can survive without eating or drinking for many days. Also, it has got thick nostrils which again help prevent the dust from entering the nose. So these are some of the examples of animals that live in desert regions. Coming next to arboreal animals. Arboreal animals are those that spend most of their time on trees. Let's take the example of a tree frog and monkeys. Let us watch a video to understand how these animals survive. The climate in the rainforests are highly suitable for supporting a large number and variety of animals. These regions have plenty of rainfall. Even in the coldest months, the temperature is about 15 degrees centigrade, and in the hot summers, the temperature is about 40 degrees centigrade. Elephants are adapted to live in the tropical rainforests. They have a muscular trunk that is used as a nose to smell and to pick up food and put it in the mouth. They have large ears that enable them to hear very soft sounds. When it becomes hot, they flap their large ears and use them as fans to cool themselves. Lions, tigers, and leopards have a highly well-developed sense of smell to locate their prey. Their body colors help them to blend with the surrounding, thus protecting them from their predators and helping them to catch their prey. They have a sharp eyesight that enables them to locate their prey from a distance. The red-eyed frogs are called so as they have big, bulging, bright red eyes. They live on the trees of the tropical rainforests. They have sticky pads on their feet to stick to the undersides of leaves, thus helping them to climb on the trees where they live. The toucan has a long, colorful beak that measures more than half the length of the body. It helps to reach the fruits on branches which are too weak to support the weight of the bird. The lion-tailed macaw has a silver-white mane surrounding its head from the cheeks down to its chin. The tail is medium-sized with a black tuft at the end, similar to that of a lion's tail. It is a good climber and feeds on fruits, seeds, flower buds, insects found under the bark of trees. It rarely comes down on the ground and is able to get sufficient food on trees. So children, all these animals that we have learnt in this video belong to the forest, mainly the rainforest. So in this chapter, you have understood how different animals survive in different areas. You've also learned why there are climatic differences between different regions on the same planet. Right, children? So it is time for you to attempt the questions at the back. Thank you.